There are 3 religions in the South. On Saturdays, Southerners flock to football stadiums to cheer. On Sundays, they go to church to pray. But on any day of the week, you can find Southerners engaged in the praise of good barbecue. Here in Alabama, we're blessed with a lot of fine barbecue restaurants. In fact, Alabama is known nationally for different styles of barbecue and barbecue sauces that we have. Some of Alabama's barbecue restaurants have national reputations, while others are known only to local folks who keep coming back for great food. There's a lot of variety among Alabama barbecue restaurants, but there is one thing they all have in common.
Barbecue in Alabama, it is a noun, and it means pork. Barbecue around the country might be a verb. I mean, they might be barbecuing shrimp. That's not what we mean here.
Scott Walton knows a lot about barbecue in Alabama. He helped compile the Heart of Dixie Glove Box Guide to Barbecue.
Alabama's barbecue it's the heart. It's the culmination of a lot of cultures, the Spanish coming up from Florida, the French from New Orleans, the English coming down through Virginia and African. And I think there are more barbecue restaurants per capita in the state of Alabama than any other state in the country.
From the mountains in the north to the Gulf waters in the south, Alabama has great natural diversity. And there is diversity among our barbecue restaurants too. So we're going to visit 9 popular barbecue restaurants in Alabama as we travel from north to south across this state. Let's begin our journey in Fort Payne, Alabama. Fort Payne is the official sock capital of the world because they make a lot of socks here. Nestled among the mountains of North Alabama, this town is home to hard-working people, like the Hood family. In 1984, they bought a failing restaurant business and turned it into a popular meeting spot for local diners.
I was involved in mining, coal mining, and did blasting and this, that, and the other for coal mines in the area. And that was the original reason I moved to Fort Payne. But yeah, it kind of died out, that business did. And I'd always been kind of interested in the restaurant business and enjoyed cooking. This came open, the opportunity, and we decided to do it. So that's basically how it happened. It was a restaurant in operation, but you know, it had a few problems. You know, we weren't making a whole lot of money at that time. The people I bought it from worked with me for about a week. I sort of got a few ideas from them and this, that, and the other, but we made our own changes slowly, tried most of the things through the past and decided what works and what doesn't work, and made a lot of friends here.
The barbecue place is a family operation. Carl's son Bert has grown up working here, and Carl's wife Rhonda says she was mighty happy when Carl decided to stop blasting and start barbecuing.
I was glad. He'd been working out of town so much. Now he's going to be home. He's a strong man, stayed with me all those years.
You can always count on your family. You know, you don't have to worry about if they're going to show up or not. You don't have to worry about family running out on you or causing any problems or anything. You know.
We are a family, but it's not just us. The people that come in here are our family, everybody. We don't have customers, we have friends and family.
We don't have a lot of tables. People sit with each other. They come in, they're sort of like a community tables and this, that, and the other. If there's not an empty seat, they'll get one. They'll sit with someone else. Through the years, you build up a lot of friends, and you know, we carry on, we talk, we laugh, we, you know, all together. And it is sort of like just a community outing.
People come here for a good time and good food. That good food begins out back in the smoker, where pork shoulders are slow cooked over a hickory wood fire. When the Hoods bought the restaurant, it was already equipped with a mighty nice smoker. This thing keeps the meat moving so it's evenly cooked.
I didn't design it. It was here when we bought the place. But it's the best thing I've seen. It saves us a lot of labor because you're not constantly out there turning it. You put 300 or 400 pounds out there and it'll all come off pretty close at the same time. When it gets done, we bring it in and we take the fat out, bone it, chop it, and it's served like that. The sauces that we use, we have a mild, a hot, and we got a little more serious hot. And that's where the spice comes from the sauces. The secrets are in the sauces. The sauce is what separates us from whoever else. We do our best to do a good job every day. No off days in this business.
From Fort Payne, we move northwest to Decatur, Alabama. Bob Gibson worked for the railroad and lived in Decatur along the Tennessee River. He was a big man with a big heart, and he was mighty big on barbecue. His backyard barbecues grew into a big business.
My grandfather started barbecuing in his backyard in 1925. He nailed some boards up on the trees in his backyard. He started cooking for family and for friends. And they liked his barbecue so well, he decided to go in the barbecue business. One of the things I remember about my grandfather, he never met a stranger. He was always outgoing, always glad to see folks. He whistled a lot. He was a large man. I think that's where the name Big Bob came from. Now, my grandfather had 5 children. They all went in the barbecue business.
The Gibson family operates barbecue restaurants all over the Huntsville-Decatur area, but there are only 2 that carry the Big Bob Gibson name. They're operated by Don McLemore and his son-in-law, Chris Lilly.
I couldn't have handpicked a better son-in-law than what I've got, because he is a tremendous, tremendous cook.
I did not cook a whole lot before I married my wife and got into this barbecue business. When I graduated college, moved to Franklin, Tennessee, married my wife, and either Don missed his daughter so much that he wanted her back a little bit closer, or he always wanted to open up another barbecue restaurant. I'm not sure which yet.
So I guess I kind of do the business part of the business. He does the cooking part. Not that he does the cooking for all the business, but kind of tell the guys what to do and how to do it.
These guys make great barbecue, and they have the awards to prove it. The entrance is filled with big trophies.
We went to Memphis in May 1997. A new tomato sauce that Chris and I had developed came in first place, and all this publicity started. And then that really got us hot for competition.
The competitions we do have really gone a long way into pushing us to develop better sauces, better rub combinations. It's not only helped us on the competition circuit, but has improved the flavor of our product right here in the restaurant.
We have won Memphis in May, which is the World Championship of Barbecue. It's the biggest pork contest in the world. We are 5 times in a row World Grand Champion with our pork shoulder. 2 of the last 4 years, including this present year, 2003, we're the World Grand Champion. So we've done very well at Memphis in May.
We spent a lot of years in the kitchen using spices that were incompatible and sauces that smelled up the whole kitchen, and it's really a science and something that you do have to work on every day, and there's a lot of trial and error involved, no doubt.
But another major award that we won with our sauce was at the American Memorial in 1998, where we judged best sauce on the planet against 500 entries by probably 600 or 700 judges. So we're quite proud of that.
Don and Chris are carrying on the tradition established by Big Bob Gibson, who originated the white sauce for barbecue chicken that is commonly called Alabama white barbecue sauce. Big Bob shared his recipe with lots of folks, and Chris Lilly is happy to share cooking tips too.
It seems like everywhere he goes now, people kind of flock to him to get an interview or to have him do a cooking show for them. So he's done very well with that.
The dry rubs we use at Big Bob Gibson Bar-B-Que are formulated. It's our own recipe, and they're formulated per product. I have a dry rub for my rib, I have a dry rub for my shoulder, I have a dry rub for my turkey and my beef. They're all different and all unique in flavor. We give a nice coat front and back, pat so the rub will adhere, and that rib is dressed and ready to go. Now for our shoulder, we'll use this particular rub right here. Nice even coat all the way across. And 18 hours later, this baby is done.
We try to cook our shoulders an hour for each pound that they weigh. So if a shoulder weighs 20 pounds, we try to cook it 20 hours. And we try to cook like at 225 degrees.
And I'd seen a couple of the signs driving down the road and decided to stop in. I'm glad I did. It's very good.
The pie's delicious.
Oh yeah, the
Chocolate
pie.
coconut lemon pie
Sure.
that they make here.
We started our pies back in the, I guess early 50s is when our pie started, and they've really been a big hit for us. We sold a lot of pie here.
A lot of the competitions we do on the Memphis and May circuit, you are required to do on-site presentations. You not only have to have a phenomenal product, but you have to convince the judge that that is the best barbecue he has ever put in his mouth. The thing that I am most proud of is being able to continue the tradition. Big Bob Gibson's has always had a phenomenal reputation in North Alabama. I'm most proud of letting more people into our secrets and letting more people know just how great a job that Big Bob Gibson's has done for over 75 years in North Alabama.
Back in the late 50s, early 60s, we had what you called car hops, where you had curb service, and we'd actually go out and wait on cars. They would either blow their horn or blink their lights, and you'd go wait on them and take the food to them. So I did all that growing up. But really still at that time wasn't giving a lot of thought in going into the business. But as I got older and finished college, I knew that someday I'd be in the barbecue business. To me, running a barbecue restaurant I think is easy. And maybe that's because I love what I do. I don't think of what I do as a job. Or it's a business, of course, and it's how I make my living, but I still don't think of it as a job. I love to come to work every day.
From Decatur, we head southwest to Winfield. Located in northwest Alabama, Winfield is a town that knows how to make people feel welcome.
Bill West, Mayor of Winfield. I'd like to welcome everyone to Winfield and the Boar's Butt.
In Panama City, I believe there's the Boar's Head, and so you have to come all the way from Panama City to Winfield to find the Boar's Butt.
And it just hit me. I said, well, Boar's Butt. It's ideal.
It is an unusual name, but folks have gotten used to it around here.
Some people use shoulders, some people use different cuts of meat. We use the butt.
The butt is the top portion of the shoulder.
Now, few people would challenge Joe Hubbard about the name of his restaurant. He's a former SEC wrestling champion, and he coached the local high school football team for years. Joe and his daughter, Kimberly Mann, operate the Boar's Butt.
He used to cook when I was little all the time. He had those little smokers, and he would smoke and grill. I don't remember a Saturday night we didn't grill steaks.
And I stayed in coaching for 33 years. I love the game. I love being around the kids, and I miss being around the youngsters today.
I guess I was in the 6th grade, somewhere around in that age. He built a smoke pit behind the house. We came home one day and there was this huge smoke pit going up behind the house. And then he started kind of smoking things for people local and doing little parties here and there. And then he built him a little trailer. And all we did was barbecue sandwiches and cheeseburgers and ribs and barbecue by the pound.
Yes, sir. I was coaching when we started. Started out down at Walmart. As soon as I got through practicing football late in the afternoon, some nights, I'd go straight down to Walmart and work until 9 or 10 o'clock.
He went from there to the smaller part of the restaurant, and then he's added on little by little, where now we seat about 425.
It's kind of like Coach Bryant used to say, if you live without coaching, stay away from it, I guess. Same way in the restaurant business. Restaurant business is tough, unless you're willing to spend a lot of hours.
Joe has put in the time it takes to create a great restaurant. The stuff on the walls inside testify to his long coaching career, and the food proves that this football coach can cook.
I've always said this place is so good, it would make your taste buds salute.
Started coming here eating barbecue, but they've got a rather extensive menu. Steaks and catfish and a lot of variety, but as well as a good luncheon menu.
We've got a menu now that is larger than Outback and Chili's menu put together.
So it started as a barbecue stand and grew into a full-service restaurant offering a wide variety of foods. But barbecue is still a favorite at the Boar's Butt.
We use a St. Louis style rib. It's got a little more meat on it than most ribs. Baby back ribs, they're very expensive, and they don't have a lot of meat on them, the real baby back ribs.
Ooh, the Boar's Butt pie is a great way to top off any meal.
My dad has been making that since I was probably 4 or 5 years old. And he started experimenting with that, and I guess right 1960, 61, somewhere around in there, and he's made it with grapes on it, he's made it with strawberries on it, and he finally found that bananas was the best thing. So when he started his restaurant, he introduced that as the Boar's Butt pie. So he's been making that for a long, long time, and it's a graham cracker, and then it's a caramel base, and then bananas and whipped cream, and sometimes we put almonds on top with chocolate syrup on top also. So, but that's we sell whole pies a lot, and that's just one of our specialties here.
If you come to the Boar's Butt, you'll come back.
From Winfield, let's head south to Tuscaloosa. Tuscaloosa is the home of the University of Alabama, Crimson Tide football, Mercedes-Benz International, and Dreamland, a little place that only serves ribs and white bread.
Our base is barbecue sauce and vinegar, and put salt on it for seasoning, and just cook it till it get done and take it off. And I let it stay there about 40 to 45 minutes on this grill here because the fire's so far away from the meat. And it looks just like my mama's cornbread when they come out brown, golden brown.
And we come here because we like these ribs. You can't beat them. They're the best anywhere.
Yeah, I don't like slaw anyway. Just takes up space where the ribs ought to be.
I think barbecue ribs is something that's barbecue in itself is something that's almost that's a religion, and it's something that's an art. It's something that everybody don't do well.
These folks can do it well. Dreamland was founded in 1958 by John C. Bishop Sr. Everybody called Mr. Bishop Big Daddy.
When they started, they had a full menu. Hamburgers, cheeseburgers, fish, and then the barbecue. And my mom was sick with asthma, so we had to stop doing the fish and the cheeseburgers and hamburgers because of the grease. And the barbecue just started taking over.
Start to cook the ribs on the back side first. So you seal your meat.
And once the meat is sealed, then you turn it over and the meat cooks. The side that seal holds the heat in, so the heat don't come straight through the rib. The heat stays in the rib and cooks your meat. That's why you don't have to turn your meat about twice, not constantly.
I'm the secret. That's the secret, me.
No, it wasn't any secrets at all. It was just like the way we prepared them, which was very simple. You know, people think that you have to parboil everything. Nothing's parboiled here. Everything is put straight directly on the grill. I think maybe the key was my dad's sauce. He has a little extra tender love and care in the sauce, but other than that, no.
But in the basting sauce, we use vinegar. Once the ribs are completed, then we take them to the back. Then they are used, once they cut them to serve, and they use straight sauce, not vinegar sauce, straight sauce.
Whenever you find a place that does it well, you know, sometimes you make a name for yourself, especially whenever you're very consistent at doing it well. And we've been fortunate enough to have people to come to Dreamland from all over the country and all over the world.
And we decided to stop by and try them, and they're delicious. Best I've ever had.
Yeah, I brought them down here. I travel, and I've been here twice before and heard of it for many years. I always wanted to try them. I'm just a barbecue nut, and they're just they're just delicious.
You know what? I really did not know that Dreamland was as popular. You know, we never did get into competitions, because my dad said if you were good, you don't have to be in competition with anybody.
Our customers are the ones who have really made this restaurant what it is. You know, when you look around, you see a part of them. You see all the license plates. You know, those people who brought those things in here, you know, they helped make history and make this restaurant what it is. And I think that it's important that we maintain that and give them an opportunity to see what they've built when they return here.
Dreamland's popularity spread beyond Tuscaloosa when sports announcers in town for Bama football mentioned them on the air. People came from across the country to sample ribs and see Big Daddy Bishop.
When I was in the process of letting him retire some, the two of the guys that worked here built Dad this big chair. And so he could rest after he would barbecue sometimes. But people always wanted to see his face, and so we didn't have a place for him to sit that would hold him because he was so big. And one day he was sitting at that table and he was doing an interview and it fell. Well, I ain't gonna use all the language that he used to get him up. So we had to figure out a way that we had to get a chair to hold him while he do his interviews. And so that's when everybody built the chair. And then he would complain that it wasn't, he wanted to be big enough where he could throw his leg over the side and be really comfortable. So that's where the chair came in. And he wanted arms so the kids could sit, the kids and the females could sit on the side of him so they could take pictures.
I think people come to Dreamland to eat, you know, ribs and bread, and that's just been a big part of the tradition here, and that's something that I don't foresee changing in the immediate future. When you talk about people coming back to the restaurant after being here for 25 years ago, you know, they want to remember Dreamland the way it was, you know, and we get a lot of people come back and say, you know, it hadn't changed. You know, they still remember the lights, the Christmas lights. They still remember the potbelly stove. They still remember the small building. I mean, I think that's important.
The original Dreamland location has changed very little through the years, but the Dreamland name has spread through franchising to include locations all over the place. Doug Allen, manager of the original Tuscaloosa location, played football with the Alabama Crimson Tide.
I often tell people how I feel like I've had an opportunity to be connected with two great traditions in the University of Alabama and its football program and Dreamland Bar-B-Que here. You know, so there's two great traditions here in the state of Alabama that I feel like I'm very fortunate to be a part of.
He was very proud, but it was really hard for him to believe that we were doing as well as we were doing with just one meat, you know, and bread. because you didn't have no greens, no potato salad, no nothing to go with that, just meat and bread, you know. And Dad always said that's what God intended you to have. You didn't need all that other stuff.
From Tuscaloosa, let's go down to Billingsley. Well, the mailing address is Billingsley, but Jim's Bar-B-Que is actually 5 miles from Billingsley on Highway 82. If you blink, you might miss it, but you'll really miss a treat.
My daddy, which is Jim Lenore, bought the place in 1975, and he started the small business, and it just grew over the years. It was a small gas station at one time, and then some of the previous owners made just a little small barbecue sandwich shop out of it. It started just walk in the door, you had to, you know, there was no room to turn around. You walk in, you get your sandwich, and back then it was alcoholic beverages that he sold, but later on he got out of that when we added on and tried to make it more of a family type restaurant.
Highway 82 runs between Tuscaloosa and Montgomery. People buzz by all the time. Frequent travelers plan their trip around a stop at Jim's.
We're out here, what you call in the boonies, because there's no, you know, great big convenience store or, you know, anything real close by. So you gotta know exactly where we are, so you won't eat before you leave or be starved to death before you get to where you're going. A lot of the truckers use their radios, and you know, they want to find out where they can eat, and they communicate with each other on the radios, and we have a lot of trucks that line up on the other side of the road to come in and eat.
Now this is Bama country. It's like a shrine to the University of Alabama here. The walls of Jim's Bar-B-Que are plastered with posters about the Crimson Tide, and there are autographed pictures of coaches.
All the coaches from Alabama would come and stop and autograph a picture. So that's why you see all the Alabama posters and pictures. And we do have Auburn fans, don't get me wrong.
Jim's Bar-B-Que is always real moist. It's always just so tender. And it's not just that, the sauce is so good and everything. So I've always made it a kind of a pilgrimage as I go either to Auburn or I'm going back to Tuscaloosa or whatever. I always stop here. Now my wife here, she loves it also. Tomorrow's going to be my 50th birthday, and I'm going to Auburn today, and that's how I'm going to celebrate going to Auburn. And so I felt like this was part of what I used to do, so that's the reason I want to stop here today.
Everybody has secrets. I mean, from A to Z. Your sauce, the way you cook your meat, how you handle it. You know, a lot of people chop their meat, and we pull ours. So we do a little bit of extra in it, a little bit more time to prepare it. I always try to get it on first thing in the morning, around 9 o'clock, and I do not take it off until the next morning because we let it cook real slow and simmer all night. So it's a 24-hour job just to get a pit of meat done. After I put it on and I get the meat smoked with the flavor that it needs to be, I'll wrap it so that flavor soaks slowly into the meat, and that's why you get your good tender smoked taste. And the sauce was, I think my daddy's uncle had a recipe, and we took that recipe and we kind of just added a little bit and took away a little bit until we got it the way we wanted it. And that's been, we make it, we start it in the morning time also, and it cooks all day long, and we pour it up at night. So it takes all day for our barbecue sauce to cook.
Jim's Bar-B-Que, the best. Roll Tide.
Our biggest days are when Alabama plays in Tuscaloosa. It is just, the Highway 82 out here is packed anyway, and then, you know, the traffic is just backed up, and then there's no parking area out here for them to park because they're all just waiting for them to get in and out, and it's really busy on a Alabama day. They seem like family because you see them every year, the same crowds most of the time at ball games. It's just like, hey, it's been a year since I saw you, welcome back.
Roll Tide. That's what we need to do, is do the wave.
From Billingsley, let's go over to Alexander City. Alexander City is a town that grew up along the railroad. It's the home of Russell Mills, maker of fine sportswear. And it's also the gateway to beautiful Lake Martin.
Well, I'm Don McClellan. I'm the mayor of Alexander City, Alabama. We invite everybody to come to Show Enough Barbecue in Alex City. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I believe it's the best barbecue in the state.
Okay, I know it doesn't look like much, but this is where our story begins. This is the original location of Show Enough Barbecue. You see, it started out as an addition to a bait and tackle shop run by Gerald Atchison.
Well, we're primarily a bait and tackle shop and small operation too, and then just had the opportunity to buy a portable barbecue wagon. It's just a little pull around, very small, and thought that would kind of help us out, give us extra income there in the wintertime, and that's how we got started. I bought the little old unit, and it exceeded the amount that I actually wanted to put into it as just a kind of a byproduct of our bait and tackle operation. And I kind of kidded around with some of my friends. I said, my wife will probably make me live in this thing after having to give what I did for it. But the response was just phenomenal. It was just unreal. But still, at that point, I didn't think it'd ever get to the point it is today. I just never imagined it. I was just doing it out of financial need, the way things were going, but it just blossomed. Thank the good Lord, it blossomed and it grew.
The barbecue business grew so much that Gerald had to stop handling worms and relocate to a shopping mall in town.
After using it 5 years at our roadside location, and then we saw the need from that point to move to where we are now. But that particular cooker is still in operation today and has had many tons of meat run through it. It's been an excellent piece of equipment though, and whoever made it gets all the credit because it's certainly a good piece of equipment. It's an overnight process. It's thermostatic control. Primarily starts out with gas, switches to wood. Once the wood gets fired, the wood burns out. Then in the night, as the temperature declines, the gas kicks on and holds it at a constant temperature. So you don't have that up and down, and we feel like that's part of our secret to having a really good product is keeping a constant temperature on.
I tell everybody that I talk to when the subject of barbecue comes up, if you want the best in the land, go to Show Enough. Now some people, they make the claim that they make good barbecue, and theirs is the best in the land, but I'm afraid to lie.
Every morning when you walk into Show Enough, you're going to get meat right off the grill, fresh cooked, never warmed over, and good product to go. I'd say 99% of our customers want their barbecue chopped, and they want it chopped kind of small, and a lot of them even order it chopped fine. But we will do it any way the customer wants it. We have some who ask for it pulled, some ask for sliced, but for this area and my customers, the majority of them do want it chopped.
I want the Show Enough potato, and do you have unsweet tea? Yes, ma'am. No sweet tea.
Like mild mixed hot sauce.
Mild.
I'll have to say our stuffed potato is probably the #1 item on the menu. A gentleman told me he had been out of state and visited a place, and they had a barbecue stuffed potato. And I asked him what it actually had on it, and he said, I just don't know. I just don't remember. He said, I know it was a potato with barbecue all over it. So we were already doing salads, and we already had the salad, so we got to thinking, let's just give them a whole meal in one. You get all the works. So that's how we started. Basically butter, cheese, lettuce, tomato, the meat, the sauce, the sour cream, and finishes out with about a 2-pound product average.
It looks good, doesn't it? But Gerald says there are some unique challenges to operating a barbecue restaurant.
It's not like a hamburger patty, you know. If it's not available, it's not available. It just takes slow time to cook it, and it's just a lot more, a longer, harder process than any other item in the food business, I assume. That's another thing. We know about what we're going to sell, but if we run out, and there's not anything we can do about it. We just hope people understand that we do want to have it fresh farm daily. We don't want to carry meat over. A lot of smoke and a lot of grease involved in that, a lot of dirty clothes. You go home, if you don't take a shower, your wife wants to run you off because the whole house smells like barbecue. She's constantly complaining about bringing that barbecue smell home, but I always remind her that's part of it, honey, so just bear with me.
When I leave the house to get barbecue, I have instruction from the wife. Be sure you bring me some barbecue from Showing Up.
Now let's head on down to Phoenix City, Alabama. Phoenix City lies on the west bank of the Chattahoochee River across from Columbus, Georgia. There are people scurrying back and forth between the two cities all the time. Some of them may be looking for the 13th Street Barbecue, but you have to know where to find it because it's not on 13th Street. Well, we found it right here on 7th Avenue.
I try to tell people how to come over here, and it's hard to do. Because you say, well, it's not 13th Street, but it's near 13th Street. But see, just follow the smoke. That's what you have to do.
And we started out on 13th Street, which is right next to this building. South Trust Bank come in and bought that property, so we moved right here. So we're actually one lot behind where we actually started out on 13th. But we kept the name and then kept it in the franchising also. And so now there's 4 13th Street barbecues, none of them on 13th Street.
There's more barbecue restaurants per capita in Columbus and Phoenix City than anywhere I know of, but yet this is probably the best one, week in and week out. Even some of the other owners of other barbecue places come here, so it's good.
My father and a friend of his started the business in August of '88, and my dad was working another job at that time, and his friend, he wasn't really working, and I bought him out, Mr. Copeland, in '93, and it's been me and my dad as 50-50 partners since that time.
Thank you. Best barbecue in town.
Everybody would ask us, when are you going to open another store? And a lot of that was from Columbus. And so finally we started looking in the Columbus area, and we found a place over there, opened it up, and then we opened it up, and everybody's like, well, when are you going to open another one? We'd like to see one here, or we'd like to see one there. And so that's basically how we've gotten into that. We find people that are interested in opening a store in another area, and they come to us, and just been going from there.
The 13th Street Barbecue has 2 locations in Phoenix City, one in Columbus and one in Auburn. There's a good chance that you can find one of them if you look hard enough. When you do, you'll want to try the pork chop sandwich.
People come from everywhere talking about the pork chop sandwich, and we've had people from overseas, out of town, everywhere. They just talk about, if I ever get to Phoenix City, I have to try that.
A lot of people don't understand that there's no bone in it. I've had friends say, well, how do you eat a pork chop sandwich with all those bones? But it's filet out of it. It's good stuff.
The pork chop sandwich is cut out of a boneless tenderloin, and tenderloin is, 24, 30 inches long, and we cut 2 slices roughly an inch thick and put on a big Kaiser roll with your sauce and slaw if you want it, and it's a really big sandwich, almost a pound of meat.
When you come here for lunch, you can't pretend that you've been somewhere where there's no cholesterol because the smoke's all over you. I mean, everybody knows you've been to 13th Street.
And our restaurant does get smoky at times, and it's just from the backdraft. Humidity will push the smoke down, bring it back through the pit. We start out fresh every morning around 5:30, 6 o'clock, load the meat up fresh, so it's not cooked a day ahead, or it's all cooked fresh that day, and cooked with a oak and hickory wood, and it's all cooked over an open pit. Everything you see over the counter is what you get served. There's nothing in the back, nothing hid. You can see it when you walk up to the counter. It's not like cooking on a stove where we come in here every day, turn the dial on to 350 and, you know, sit back and stir it every now and then. It's a deal where, you know, one day you've got dry wood, one day you've got green wood, and you pretty much have to tailor your cooking to what that fire's doing that specific day. And you have to turn your meat according to that. It's not like just putting it on there and you know when it's done. With the 3 different levels, you want to, you know, as the meat gets done, of course, you want to pull it up to the top and, you know, maintain the heat rather than, you know, just direct heat on it. But, you know, by moving the meat around with 3 different levels, you know, you can keep meat in different stages to keep from having, you know, a bunch of meat done at one time. You can move it to, you know, keep the stage of the meat different.
The 13th Street Barbecue offers tangy mustard sauce in 2 varieties, mild and hot.
The sauces came from my great-grandmother's recipe, and a lot of people say, you know, they're a sauce like a lot of barbecue places got in this area, which we're just around this area you get more of a mustard-based sauce versus, you know, other places you get a ketchup base or they call red sauce, but ours is mostly mustard-based.
It's a good place to come visit. We come every Monday.
From Phoenix City, let's go west to Camden. Camden is the county seat of Wilcox County. It's a small town where most folks know each other and people enjoy the simple things in life. Dallas Soul Food and Barbecue is a favorite gathering spot for lunch. Laverne Dallas is out back grilling ribs and chicken right now.
We cook a variety of soul food, such as collard greens, turnip greens, even a little pig feet, one of our special too, yams, you know, some of everything, anything to do with soul food, black-eyed peas, we cook it, you know. Then we got some ribs that other people might want something different, like roast beef, we got all that special for people too, you know, also.
Anybody who's familiar with rural Wilcox County or even the rural southern part of Alabama, for years we used to just make a pit, an open pit in the ground, dig a hole about 6 by maybe 6 feet long, 4 feet wide, maybe 4 feet deep, and put a hole over the whole pit and just let him simmer all night. And then the next day you would probably have a big gathering where hundreds of people would attend. You'd make camp stew, eat barbecue, and it's just a tradition. It's just a tradition in the area, and traditions here last for years.
Being from the South, everybody liked barbecue in the South, so that was one of me and my wife's idea to start the barbecue. There wasn't no place really in Camden for soul food or barbecue really, so we decided we'll come up with Dallas Soul Food and barbecue. So we were pretty much, you know, do 2 things in one thing, you know, barbecue and soul food.
After working in several restaurants in Seattle, Laverne decided to move back home and set up his own restaurant in Camden.
Working in a couple other restaurants in Seattle, and I ran other people's restaurant, so we kind of got tired of the city, so we decided we'll move back here, and then in Seattle it would have been hard to get into a business there, so we decided we'll come here, move back home. I really wanted to do that, so decided we'll move back here and start our business ourselves.
Laverne has been the kind of guy since he has come back to the business world. He has tried to give you a good product at a reasonable price, and it's very palatable. When I say it's very palatable, the food tastes good, you know, and if you build it, they'll come.
People come from miles around for Laverne's cooking. His soul food specialties include pig's feet and chicken neck bones, meats that some folks might just throw away. He also has lots of fresh veggies every day.
We cook fresh food every day. We don't serve nothing out of a can. We take our time, prepare it back there every day, even from corn, okra, on down to collard greens, you know, fresh, everything fresh.
But Laverne says it's his barbecue ribs and chicken that keep people coming back.
people love barbecue, you know, especially if it's good, you know. They can definitely, you know, support you and come for barbecue, you know. You have people, I have people come from all out of town, you know, make sure they want barbecue, you know, all the time, you know.
It's zesty, it's tangy, it has that smoky taste, and it's always tender and good.
Soak it in vinegar overnight and everything. Then the next morning we'll come in, we'll season it up real good. And then we'll put it on the grill, slow cooked it for like 2.5 hours to 2 hours. And the same with the chicken and bosun, but we all, you know, slow process cooking. That's the main thing.
And then Laverne smothers it with his own secret sauce.
Yeah, I make my own special sauce, you know. I add a little things to it, you know, pretty much. I don't like, a little bit of dab of this, a little dab of that, a little beer, a little sugar, a little tomato sauce. Just mix it up a little bit, you know, make my own sauce. And recipe is a secret. I really don't tell anybody, you know, period, about how I do things, you know. So I do, I'll be out of business.
Now, let's head on down to Mobile, Alabama. The port city of Mobile is known for great seafood, but what about barbecue? Well, we found a fellow here who takes barbecue mighty seriously. His name is Bill Armbrecht, and he operates the Brick Pit.
The name of the restaurant, Brick Pit, my last name is Armbrecht, and the southern pronunciation of Armbrecht is Armbrecht. That's when I was going through school, the nickname was Brick. I'm not sure how flattering that is, but it ended up making a good name for barbecue. So, and we actually have a steel smoker, but that doesn't sound as effective as a Brick Pit. So, when I was, I guess, 18 to 20 years old, enjoyed cooking on the little old smokies, you know, and overnight barbecue, slow smoking, and working on sauce recipes, and we would do ball game parties and pool parties and that type of thing. And I was intrigued by the art of it, and, as opposed to just grilling like everybody does on their back porch. I was a yacht captain for 12 years, as a matter of fact, out of Fort Lauderdale. And all along, we still worked on recipes and working on our sauces and that type of thing. And it stayed with me. You know, there's always just this interest. And every time we do this at home or for a party, people really liked the product we were coming out with. We'd developed the sauce far enough along that people seem to really like it a lot. And it's kind of unique, and it is all homemade. Just finally decided, you know, I think we should do this, and started looking for the right place. And it took about a year before we found the location that we wanted, which is where we are today.
To find the Brick Pit, just follow your nose. A little smoker by the side of the road supplements the wonderful smell coming from Bill's big smoker out back. And this place looks like a barbecue restaurant.
A barbecue joint needs to have the character and look like a barbecue joint, but so you don't want anything too fancy. When we first painted it, this building used to be, it was a Thai restaurant before. It's a 1946 house, and it was previous to us, and it was all purple and pink. And we turned it into crimson and white. I'm a big Tide fan, so we kind of based it around that in the first place. You know, it was pretty, but it needed something for character. And finally I decided, heck with it, let's just let them write it on the wall. Plus we thought it was a pretty good marketing idea, because if you bring your kids in, they sign their name on the wall, they become part of the place. So yeah, everybody has a little bit of ownership on it once you do that.
So grab a pen and join the other folks who have signed in here, but don't get so caught up in that you forget why you came.
It's a good smoky flavor, and if you read anything about barbecue, what they call the bark, which is the outer edge that gets real dark when you smoke the meat, you know, it has a real good taste, a good flavor. The smoke from the wood is very apparent in the meat, and it just has a good smoky flavor.
You want to be the best at it. I mean, that's important. If you're going to get into this and give your heart and soul to it and really get into the art of smoking meats or even the art of open pit, then you really want to, it's a big thing to consistently take the top honors.
And once I get my fire lit, I put on fresh chickens every morning. I take some ribs, they be fresh, and I smoke them like from 16 to 18 hours.
I have a smoker that I designed myself. It's pretty basic, really, with a firebox at one end of it, and we use a blend of pecan and hickory. And the firebox grafts into the main chamber, and the smoke and heat are pulled across the meat and then exit through the other end.
To be honest with you, it's an art. It really is an art to it. But we usually use pecan and hickory wood. And in fact, I named the smoker Red, man. I just love it's a very delicate thing to do with that hickory pecan wood. I mean, we don't just throw it in there, man. We lay it down real nicely and neat and get us a little chip off the old block there, start a little bit there and just let him come on up. And just it gradually just comes, and when we get it to a certain temperature, we know we're there.
These days, most places just don't take the time. I mean, we're smoking our pulled pork, our Boston butts for 25 to 30 hours, which is a throwback to years ago. Most of the barbecue now is open pit, which frankly is just a fancy name for the same thing you're doing on your grill on your back porch. And you end up with a red ring this deep. And that's what we want to try and achieve, is the flavors in that pecan. And one of the things I had to learn early on was the type of blends of hardwoods that you use. The reason we use a 75% pecan, 25% hickory is because hickory is a very strong wood. And if you used more than that, smoking it this long a period of time, it'd be too harsh.
I'm an aficionado of barbecue. I like to check out new places anywhere my travels may take me. Not that I travel that much, but if there's a barbecue place there and it's time to eat, I'm going to try that out and see how good it is.
It's a competitive thing between people that are barbecue fans. You know, somebody will find their favorite place over here, and another one has their favorite place over here, and it's almost like pulling for a ball team, you know, that literally they use it in competition. No, my place is better than yours, and no, your place is better than mine. Just going around eating different places, to me, this is the best restaurant that does barbecue that I've found. There's other good barbecue, you know, I'm not saying, but as far as my personal preferences, I eat here as much as I can, because to me, they do things right. They smoke it with wood, they take their time, they prepare it well, and the sauce is fantastic.
Anything with the ribs?
Egg has some baked beans, coleslaw, slice of bread.
Rib plate, regular, sweet tea.
I mean, if you look at how much people, they're really fanatics about it. You've got a lot of people that really take their barbecue serious, more so than seafood or steak or anything else, really. And it's such a Southern tradition. Yeah, I think that there's an added element of pressure to excel at this more so than most other restaurants.
Well, that wraps up our tour of barbecue restaurants across Alabama. We couldn't visit everybody's favorite restaurant in the time we had here, but maybe we can get together and do this again sometime. Because there sure are a lot of great barbecue restaurants in Alabama. We may disagree on a lot of things, even on our favorite barbecue restaurants, but barbecue sure tends to bring people together.
When you look at football, politics, religion, all those things bring out community, and you can have different opinions about football, you can have different opinions about religion, you can have different opinions about your politics, but the barbecue seems to be the way to get the people together.